Hello, YouTube. It's 2016, and here we are. No great catastrophes, but I feel it's time to make another video and let my opinions be known. Because, basically, it seems like America, not only America, but the entire world is swirling like that dead goldfish going down the toilet bowl. And people are just, the whole divide and conquer. Well, I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat, I'm white, I'm black, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Christian. Same horseshit that we've been arguing about and fighting with each other about, destroying and killing and genociding each other about for, the past 6,000 years or so. But, it is what it is. I'll address all those things on another topic. But what I wanted to do here is to basically tell a little bit about myself. You might be curious to know what I'm about, what I stand for. Okay, let's start off with politics. Okay, I'm gonna get more in depth on that, but basically, I am not a Republican, a Libertarian, a Democrat. I am not a socialist. I don't fall into any of those categories. I don't need to be part of any groups or collectives. But like I said, I'll get into that. But first, I'm gonna tell you a couple of things. There's always these hotbed topics that everybody has opinions on. So I figure I'll just knock them out of the way. And if you feel like I'm an asshole, you could just click no or leave nasty comments below, which I'll be sure to address later on. I love my haters too. Love you fuckers. All right. Well, let's start off talking about religion. Okay. I consider myself sort of an agnostic. It's not that I don't prescribe to any organized religion. To me they're all a form of control. But if they make people feel better about themselves, they make people feel better. So why am I not an atheist? Well, because there's been certain things that have happened to me that lead me to believe that there is life after death, there is spiritualism, and there is something else out there.
I see dead people.
Right. And, so that's where I stand on religion. I'm not a religious person. You're not going to convert me or convince me by reading me from the Quran, from the Bible, from the Torah. It's not going to make a damn bit of difference to me. Okay, that's good. Religion is a great thing for people if it helps with brotherhood, if it helps people get along, if it gives you some morals and some guidance and something to stand for in your life. That's good. Religion can be a good thing. It can also be a bad thing, like, say, jihad, ethnic cleansing, the Holy Crusades, and so on and so forth. It could be a very evil, shitty thing, and it can also be a political tool. And I see religion being used more and more as a political tool, so I tend to try to distance myself from that as much as possible. So that's where I stand on religion. I am an agnostic. You want to convince me, show me. If not, you can read all the 1,000-year-old books you want to me, and until I see, something that makes me personally believe. I've never had that hallelujah moment where I could sit around in a church and feel the light come over me. Just didn't happen. I've tried. Everybody knows that. Knows that, I know probably more about religion and comparative religion than most people. But just don't buy it. Sorry. Kool-Aid tastes funny to me. Anyway, let's talk about another subject. And this is probably where I'll piss off the right-wingers and sound more left-wing, but abortion. Another hot topic, so why not just knock this out of the park right away? Now, First, let me start off telling a little story. Okay. Um, about 3 years before I was born, my mother lost twin babies, and she had some significant scarring in the womb. So, what was the doctor's prognosis right away when she found out that she was pregnant with me 3 years later? All the baby will probably have birth defects, will probably have issues, so you should have an abortion. Well, she decided not to, obviously. Then here we come down the line. She's 5 months pregnant, and she gets German measles, which I don't even know what the hell that is, to be honest with you. I don't think it exists anymore, but apparently it did way back in the olden days when I was in utero. She had 105-degree fever. They told her, hey, your baby's going to be retarded, it's going to be brain damaged, you should have an abortion. Well, she chose not to. So, hey, wherever you are right now, Mom, thank you for that decision. But here's another thing. I am firmly against governments, religious institutions, or anybody else telling somebody what they can and can't do with their body. Okay, I am anti-control above all other things. So I think maybe, yeah, partial birth abortion is a brutal, nasty, horrible thing, and I think there should definitely be some limits put on that. Okay, I don't think that teenage girls should be able to get abortions without their parents' permission. I don't like that. I don't like the state taking away my parental rights. That's bullshit. Okay. And personally, I find that abortion as a form of birth control is, it's irresponsible. It's irresponsible on both parts. Okay. But having said that, in a practical view, you had women all over the place completely destroying their uterus, some dying in back alleys. So women are going to do it anyway. It's their right. It's their body. The government does not have a right to come in and tell women what they can and can't do with their bodies. Once you get into that slippery slope, the government is not here to control your every action. And see, that's what people need to realize. The government is not your parent. Okay? They are lawmakers and they are protectors. They are the people who create the laws that protect us and run the military that protect us. Okay? So that's where I'm going with that. What's another hotbed topic that we got these days? Oh, gay marriage. Okay. If gay people are going to live together, what difference does it make? What impact does it have on your life if these two fellows who might talk funny, might not? I guess there's, all kinds of different ones. If they want to get married, or women, whatever, how does that affect your life? How does that affect your well-being if Sarah and Susan or Bob and Ted get married to each other? It doesn't. It doesn't affect your life. If you're looking at it from a moralistic point of view, don't marry a man, or don't marry a woman if you're a woman. Morals are a personal thing. That's a personal initiative in your life. Morals are not something that you can legislate to other people. Okay, separation of church and state. That is an important thing. All right, let's talk about gun rights. Here's the big thing. Every time somebody uses a gun anywhere in this country, suddenly it's a gun problem and a gun issue. Not to mention that millions of people who die in car-related fatalities, stabbings, just general beatings. I mean, anybody can die from anything, and those things all definitely more people die daily than by gun violence. The gun laws are already here. Now, what makes it, I believe people have a right to own guns and a right to bear arms. The laws are already in place. You cannot own a fully automatic machine gun, which I've heard some of the liberal media say. You cannot have a gun if you have a mental disability. Those laws are already in place. Okay, maybe we need to look to see improve our mental health care instead of doping people up and giving people drugs. Maybe we need to do some research and find out how to fix these mental issues that these people obviously have. You know, and I believe that at least some of these incidents are orchestrated. I believe that, you know, maybe these people are Manchurian type candidates, or maybe they're just reenactment actors. Okay, I'm not going to get into that. That's a whole other subject for a whole other program. So we're just going to leave that one alone here. But yes, I am fully Second Amendment. I believe in your right to own a gun or your right to not own a gun if you don't want to. That's your opinion. You're an American. You are free. Our ancestors' blood soaked this land for freedom so that you can make these choices, not so that some politician in a suit who's surrounded by armed guards could tell you that you don't have the right to defend yourself. Think about it. Okay. And just like hunting, okay, I have firearms for self-protection. I'm not a hunter. I don't oppose anybody who hunts. You know, I don't personally think it's very sporty to hunt an animal with a rifle, but hey, if you're going to hunt to eat, that's fine. Sport hunting, nah, but you know what? Like I said, that's your right. You have those rights, you have those laws, whether I personally agree with it or not. Okay, so that's how I feel about that. All right, now let's delve back into politics. The freaking opium of the masses, the insanity, the fucking shit bombs that we see every day on TV, the divide and conquer bullshit. Okay, I was born in Cleveland, Ohio. Okay, both of my parents were Democrats. All right, I have to quantify this because the type of Democrats that they were not the socialist, politically correct Democrats that you see now. They weren't the Hillary Clintons or the Bernie Sanders. They were the Kennedy Democrats. They stood for equal rights, which they won, by the way, in case you guys haven't noticed that. Women can't vote. Everybody's equal in our country. If you're separate, that's because you're separating yourself. But another opinion, another show, another time. They believed in union rights, okay? And that is a great thing that the Democrats did for us, is they gave us union rights. If it wasn't for the Democrats, and to a certain extent the socialists, we'd be working 16 hours a day for $4 an hour, okay? So those were the type of things that they stood for, okay? Hardworking, working class Democrats, not socialist Democrats, working class. There's a big difference. So, of course, as I was growing up, I, of course, prescribed to being a Democrat. As a matter of fact, my mom was involved in, you know, Democratic fundraisers. We had Democrats at our house. I met the mayors, governors, you know, and one thing I did notice about them is there were two types. There were the flashy, say whatever you want, endear yourself to people types, and then there were these kind of sketchy types, you know, with last names like Demora and celebrities. And, you know, here you do your homework and you find out these are ex-mobsters. Okay, this is Cleveland, Ohio. This isn't the entire nation, so I'm just basing it on what I said. So then I got a job where I was working in a HUD housing complex. Okay, and just left and right, I saw fraud. People driving $100,000 cars while living on the government bill. So yeah, I turned a little bit more conservative. So then about that time, I'd say that was my Republican phase. Okay, so I stuck with it for a while, and then I seen, just shook my head every day at the damage that Baby Bush was doing to our country, the rights that were taken away, which is sort of more of a democratic thing. But hey, you know, half a dozen on one side, six on the other, right? So I looked into other parties, the Libertarians, the Green Party, just and basically all it is they all run to the same thing. It's they're all answering to the same masters. Okay. George Bush did bailouts for big corporations, Ford, General Motors. Bush also started wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. George Bush started Homeland Security, the Patriot Act. Okay, now let's fast forward it up to modern history with Barack Obama, the Democratic savior, the guy who's going to ride down on his magic dragon and make everything better. What was the first thing he did? He bailed out banks. Now, okay, you could say what you want about capitalism, but that was very capitalist for somebody who calls himself a socialist Democrat to bail out Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and the people who helped destroy our economy in the first place with the subpar mortgages. And it's just ridiculous. That's all you can do is shake your head. And since then, he has done drone strikes all over the world: Yemen, Syria, Somalia, Iran, Iraq, Libya. Let's just go on, and I can get into the reasons why it's happening. It has more to do with the bankers, but we're gonna get into that on another time because I don't want to make this too long and have everybody falling asleep here. Okay. But the whole thing that's driving me nuts these days are political correctness. Political correctness is nothing but a means to keep us divided amongst ourselves. Okay. Nothing pisses me off more than when you see a middle class white suburbanite college student screaming and complaining about white privilege. Okay, let me explain something to you about myself. I grew up in a lower middle income type house. I wasn't poor. We weren't on food stamps. We weren't on any kind of assistance, but the struggle was real. During the white flight back in the 1980s, most of the white people left. So it went from an Irish and Italian, Polish immigrant neighborhood to those few diehard hillbillies and a few Irishmen and mostly Hispanics at the time. It's became more of an integrated area since then, and then they had forced busing. So when I was 6 years old, they put me on a bus and sent me to the other side of town, even though 3 blocks away was a school, because somehow my education would be better if I were to sit next to a black kid. And I'm not saying that there weren't inconsistencies with black schools to white schools. That's been proven. Okay. So yeah, there were some wrongs, but forced integration, was never to there. It created more racial tensions and more bullshit. You spent more money on buses and on all these social programs, and the schools went bankrupt. 60% of the schools that existed when I went to school are no longer. They're abandoned buildings or community centers. They don't exist. And see, this is the problem with liberalism. Okay, you cannot force laws to integrate society. People do that on their own. Now, come up into the 90s and the early 2000s, here we are coming at you. There's nothing to see, a black man who speaks like a suburbanite, very well spoken. There's nothing. Then you have the white guys who are like Eminem. We are integrated. We have become the melting pot. So what do they do now? Now, class welfare. Okay, so now it's time to spank and punish people who are successful. No. The people who are running companies in this say, yeah, they make a profit. Yes, they make money. Do I believe that they need to have more of their money taken away? And do I believe that I need to make $20 an hour to even things out? No, that's not America. That's not what we were built upon. Okay, you got to get this Robin Hood bullshit out of your head. That's not how it works. Success is created by determination, by hard work. If you are not determined and you don't work hard enough, you're not going to be a success. You can't punish those who are a success. Now, I'm not talking about the Federal Reserve bankers who are setting interest rates. Those are the true one percenters, by the way. I'm not talking about that, So let's have a distinction here between successful business owners and that. And say whatever you want. I grew up in capitalist America, and guess what? Things were good. You could afford to go out for that $200 dinner. My dad could work, and he worked his ass off every day, but my mom was able to stay home and raise us under a capitalist society. Could they do that now? Honestly, I don't think so. I mean, you mothers and fathers working, the families are falling apart, and it's just nobody can afford it. Why? Think about it. Put two and two together. But yet you want more socialism. You want more money, more entitlement issues. I'm not talking about when I do not consider Social Security, retirement, disability, and unemployment are as entitlements. Okay? Those are things that you put money into the system, you deserve, you work your ass off, and that's fine. Good for you. You deserve those. Those aren't entitlements. Those are something that you paid into. Now, welfare, food stamps, those type of things, those are entitlements. Okay. This free college that you're all magically talking about that Bernie Sanders is waxing on to you, that's an entitlement. That's never going to work. It's never going to. What you're going to do by doing that is the same thing that happened with our health care. Okay? You are going to have state-sponsored education. Not that it's not already. The government already comes in and tells them what curriculum they could teach and what they can't, which is part of the reason why so many liberals come out of college. But what you're going to have is you're going to have a complete federal takeover of the education system. Not a good thing. Look at the post office. Not very successful. Look at Obamacare. If you could even get on the website, that's fine. But if not, be prepared to pay your fines. Not very successful. That's one thing. The government gets involved in something, expect a big old pile of steaming shit in the floor. That's what we got. All right. Now, here's one thing that I'm going to address briefly. This is another divide and conquer technique that our media uses. Okay, we have two different groups here. We have the Black Lives Matter movement, and then we have the I'm not sure what they call themselves, the Patriots, these people who did the standoff in Oregon. Okay. The media stands in chairs the Black Lives movement. It's great. They're standing up for their rights. It's wonderful. Then you have these occupiers who were in this federal building, not running around burning cars and smashing windows and looting. They were bad guys. And comment after comment that I've seen on different social media said that these guys should be shot. They should bomb them. They should kill them. People applauded when this man got killed by the government. And I don't understand how you can make a distinction between the two. How you can call the occupiers terrorists, yet the people who were rioting and looting and tearing stuff apart were patriots. If you're fighting the system, you're fighting the system. Okay? It's the same system. Not because it does not fit into your social or your political agenda does not mean that one's right and one's wrong. Either they're both wrong and they're both terrorists and need to go to jail, or one doesn't. Don't tell me because these guys are white and they have guns that they deserve to die. Okay? You really need to check your fucking shit. If you are that guilty and feel that terrible about your white skin and about things that have happened hundreds of years ago that you didn't personally have involvement in, jump off a fucking bridge. If you hate yourself and you hate what you stand for so much, please go. Just fucking take some cyanide, drink some fucking bleach, whatever. You hate yourself that fucking much. I don't have any shame over things that I didn't have involvement in. My parents marched for civil rights. My grandfather was actually arrested in Mississippi because he walked across a bridge with a black man who wasn't allowed in that town. So there were no slave owners in my family. There were actually indentured servants from Ireland in my family. So, you know what? I don't feel the least bit of remorse because of this fucking sour cream complexion. If you do, that's fine. But I'm tired of hearing about it. I'm tired of hearing about how white people are the root of all evil. No, there's evil in every race. Idi Amin was not an upstanding fucking citizen, okay? So let's stop with the division and let's talk about race for a minute. What is race? Well, anybody who has themselves genetically tested has some percentage of black blood, white blood. None of us are pure blood anything. Okay, we weren't just discovered on an island in the fucking Mediterranean. We're not pure blood. So all the race thing is to divide and conquer. And let me explain something to you. If you're one of these liberals who has to say, I love everybody. Look, I have a black friend. Or you have to talk about white privilege. Why? Maybe you feel privileged. You know why? Because you're fucking racist. You are the people who are keeping everything separated. You're the ones who are stirring up the shit pot. You're the ones who are part of the fucking globalist design. You know what? You feel privileged to be white? Keep it to your fucking self. Let's stop dividing and conquering. Let's stop buying into the bullshit. It's ridiculous. You know, and see, and that's the problem that we have in our country. We have lack of fucking leadership. We have lack of people telling us the truth. You know, we get bullshit abridged history, which I could go on for that for hours, but I'm not going to. There's people who are much more well qualified, well spoken, and educated that can get into that. If you want to look into it, look into Graham Hancock, Jordan Maxwell, Michael Tsarion. Those people just blow me away. They spend their lives studying real history, not the bullshit that we learn. But like I said, that's a whole other subject. We have lack of leadership. We have these people, of course, are pigeonholed into this group that are called conspiracy theorists or alternate historians. Okay, they're taking away credibility. They're cast off to the side. But you know what? It's a growing movement. People are going to learn the truth, whether the global elitists want us to or not. It's going to happen. Okay, the awakening has begun. So, that is what it is. But okay, so let's dwell back into politics here for a minute. Let's talk about the political candidates. Okay. So we have all these stuff suits running on the Republican Party. Marco Rubio. Just a fucking face and a smile. Can't even pull high single digits. So nobody cares about him. You got another Bush. Okay, yeah, we had the father and we had the son, and they did such a great job. So let's put the nerdy, uptight little brother in and let him fuck things up. I don't think so. He doesn't stand a chance. Nobody named Bush will ever be elected again in this country. That's my prediction. Let me see. You got Chris Christie, this fat bastard who was doing everything but fucking giving Obama a reach around, but now he's a Republican candidate. Not buying it, buddy. And then you have Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz, obviously, if you look at his voting record, he is a neocon. He is a globalist. He is all the things that the Republican Party should stand against. He's more liberal than you could fucking imagine. So, but you got Fox News telling you that he's the man. And then, okay, here's the big one, the one that's dividing us and pissing us off. The one that more propaganda and more bullshit has been spread about than anybody else, Donald Trump. Okay. Donald Trump is egotistical. Donald Trump is fucking funny looking. Donald Trump is a bit of an asshole. But Donald speaks the truth. Donald speaks out against the media fucking benevolence and the media fucking bullshit that goes on. That's why the media is destroying both right and left. Even Fox News is turned on him. So there's no way he could do the things that he says he's going to do. But 90% of the things, these horrible headlines about him, he said some fucked up things. I definitely do not agree with probably even 50% of what he says. But if he's the only one who has the balls to stand up against the media and fight it, I don't know. That kind of puts him in a consideration for me. Maybe Donald is legitimate. Or maybe Donald is just coming in there inciting things so that we'll all say, oh my God, I don't want Donald Trump to win. I better vote for Cruz. So then we got to Cruz in the election. Okay, let's talk about the Democrats. I'm not even sure nobody really matters. There's only two of them here that we can get to. Okay, and if you don't know about the kind of shit that the Clintons have been involved in and the Dixie Mafia and the fucking rape allegations and Benghazi, Fast and Furious, and all this fucking criminal bullshit that Hillary's been involved in, and you still want to vote for her, go for it. Doesn't really make a bit of difference one way or the other. Things are going to stay exactly the same as they are now. Hillary's not going to fix any fucking thing. She couldn't even take care of her husband. Monica Lewinsky had to do that. So you think she can run a fucking country? Food for thought. And you got Bernie Sanders. Oh boy, the alternative media is drooling. Bernie Sanders, he's going to give us free education. He's going to give us free shit. We won't have to pay taxes. Do you realize that economically, in order for Bernie Sanders to do the things that Bernie Sanders wants to do, would put us about $60 trillion in debt by the time he had it's impossible. We do not have the money. If you taxed every single person, okay, he only wants to tax big business. Okay, you can only draw so much blood from that turnip. What are you gonna do? Tax them 100%? If you tax every millionaire in this country 100%, took all their profits, fucking threw them out on Skid Row, you're still not going to dip into this massive black fucking hole of debt that Obama and Bush have gotten us into. So Bernie, I'm sorry to say, is filling your head with shit. Bernie is nothing but a globalist puppet. Bernie had voted for all of these big bailouts. Bernie has voted for the wars that we've gotten into. Bernie's helped destroy our economy. So how you think all of a sudden Bernie's an economic genius and he comes out and says he's a socialist? Well, that's great. Here's a little thing for you. Okay, you people that are hardcore socialists, or you people who think communism's great, everything free for everybody, we're gonna sit around in a circle and sing fucking Kumbaya. Name me a communist or socialist country. Either one. Yes, I know they're fucking different things. We're not going to get into that. Name me a communist or a socialist country that has been successful. Not for a period of a year or two. And okay, I know what you people are going to say. The Netherlands, Denmark, Sweden. Look what the political correctness and the socialism has done. They are now the rape capitals of the world. They are in an economic crisis because of socialism. You can only give so much to so many people. Okay? Like I said, there are good socialist ideas. And the one thing that Bernie Sanders did say that impressed me is that he wanted to audit the Federal Reserve. Okay? See, here's the fucking gorilla in the room. Nobody talks about the Federal Reserve, the bankers who set our interest rates, run our economy, set the prices of metal, set the prices of oil, control the economies around the world. Nobody mentions them except for Bernie Sanders and, well, Rand Paul did, but obviously, you know, he got kicked to the curb because everybody's worried about Donald and Ted Cruz. But that's one thing. If Bernie could do that, that'd be great. But do I want the financial disaster that Bernie's going to create? No, I'm sorry, I don't. We need somebody who can economically fix the fucking problems. There is ways to do that. I'm going to get into that in a minute. But Bernie Sanders is not going to do what he says. Bernie Sanders can't do what he says. Okay. So all he's doing is blowing smoke rings up your ass. Bernie Sanders can't. He's not the fucking savior that you think he is. This guy's a businessman just like everybody else. He's a millionaire just like the rest of them. Bernie Sanders isn't living in a fucking trailer park in Louisiana. Bernie Sanders is a multi-millionaire. So if you think that he really gives a shit about the poor and downtrodden in this country, you're out of your mind. But whatever. Go ahead. Vote for Bernie. It doesn't really matter who we vote for, which I'll get to that in a minute. But so let's talk about what could we do. There's nothing we can do except damage control. Let's vote for the lesser of two evils. Which, if you're a Democrat, the lesser of two evils is going to be Bernie Sanders. If you're a Republican, the lesser of two evils is going to be whatever fucking neocon Yahoo that they put up after that. Because believe me, Donald Trump, they're gonna find more dirt about him. They're gonna find a dead prostitute or something in his fucking trunk. He's gonna get blown out. He's pissed too many people off. So believe me, the fix is in. He's got a fucking target on his head. So, how do we fix things? What way is there to repair the problems in our country? Well, here's a couple ideas that I have. Okay. The number one most important thing is to disband, not audit, but disband the Federal Reserve. Okay. Any of you who are familiar with Zeitgeist, or I definitely encourage you to go onto alternative media and find out exactly what the Federal Reserve is and how they operate and how they do things. And what a sham it is. It's basically a big Ponzi scheme. Bernie Madoff went to jail for the same things that they do to create our economy. Okay, it's all based on what somebody's going to buy. And then you have all the oil in the world that is traded in dollars. So, surprise, surprise, when a country decides that they want to trade their oil in something that's not the dollar, suddenly we find ourselves at war with them. Strangely enough. And no, let me state this too. I've been accused of being anti-military. I'm not anti-military. I'm anti-government. The people in the military, these young kids who go out there and they fight and defend us, they think that they're doing what's right, or they're out there just doing a job, one way or the other. But this does not reflect upon them. They are some of the bravest, smartest, most intelligent people. And hey, I nothing but honor and nothing but respect for you kids that are going out and fighting for my freedom. Even if it's a false flag, who knows? But you are doing what you do, and we do appreciate you. God bless you. God bless America. Thank you. Now that we have that out of the way. Okay. Now, what are we going to do? How will we have an economy if we disband the Federal Reserve and get rid of the monopoly money in these debit notes? See, our money doesn't say currency. It says debit note. Okay, because it's based on investors and foreign investment to prop up our economy. Which, that might sound stable to you, but no, it really isn't. So how do we fix this problem? How do we alleviate this? Well, we live in the fourth largest country in the world. We are rich in food, agriculture, minerals, resources, metals, dig, mine, grow more wheat, grow more corn. We need to have a resource-backed economy. We could take and pull all of our resources together and base our money on that so it stood for something like the old gold standard, and we would be fine. Unfortunately, we would have to default on our debt, which countries do it all the time. Greece has done it. China's done it several times, and they've rebuilt from there. So yes, it is possible to get out of this hole that these idiot fucking globalist politicians have put us in. But Federal Reserve has to go bye-bye. They are not the good guys. I could talk for hours and hours about this and explain more about it to you, but I'm not going to get into it. Let's just say they need to go. That would be the number one step. And then the number two step, have our economy rebuilt on resources, which we have a plethora of in this country. Don't let anybody lie to you. Okay, then you have to, the third part would be to make elections fair. Okay. How do you make the election system fair in our country? Well, as long as you have the electoral college, these Kabbalistic, shadowy people behind the curtains who say, well, these people who were in my region voted for this person, so this is my vote. See, the president is not determined by the popular vote of the people. So you could vote for whoever you want as long as these electoral votes keep coming in. So if they decide that they want to give the electoral votes, hey, when I was in Cleveland, there were people from all over the world that were coming to vote for Obama. And if you paid attention to this last election, 8 minutes after the polls closed in Ohio, they gave all 40 electoral votes to Obama. There's no fucking possible way they counted. The fix was in. They decided who they want, and they won. So really voting, I'm sorry to say, but it doesn't matter. Whoever gets in, gets in. That's who they decide. Okay? So you have to disband the Electoral College. That has to go away. The president needs to be elected by the vote of the American people. Not by the Electoral College, not by a bunch of guys sitting around the table saying, give him, okay, he's got this one. No. And then you have delegate votes, like in these primaries. You have these, once again, these delegates, local politicians who sit around and say, okay, well, we're going to give this one to him, and we're going to give this one to him. And in no time, and at no point, does the will of the American people apply here. So delegate votes are just like electoral college. It's nonsense. That is not your will. That is not democracy. So if you think that running out and voting for somebody is fine, that's fine. Go ahead, waste your time, waste your energy. But until we get rid of the delegate votes and the electoral college, we cannot have an honest election. The people are not spoken for. Okay. And here's a thought that's always ran through my head. Instead of politicians running as Democrats or running as libertarians or running as socialists or running as Republicans, how about when they run, they don't have any kind of party affiliation behind their name? How about they just like me? They state what they think and what they don't think, so that you know where they're really coming from without having to stick to a party line. I think personally that would work out great. And then here's another thing that makes our government, jacked up is lobbyists. People from these big corporations that give money to politicians to influence their vote. Anywhere else that would sound like extortion. If a cop takes $100 to not give me a ticket, he can go to jail. But a politician can take a $25,000 contribution from the Pfizer Corporation to influence a new drug getting on the market and the FDA doing. That's nonsense. Once again, not democracy. Get rid of the lobbyists. Kick their asses out of Washington. Bye-bye. See ya. Make it honest again. Now, here's the last thing. Okay. Like I said before, you have entitlements, and then you have things that you earned. Stop touching the Social Security system to take money out for people who don't want to work. Okay, if you don't want to work and you can't work, that's fine. Collect a welfare check. But there's no reason why, just like every other job, you should be drug tested. If I can't smoke a bong and go to work, you can't sit around your house and smoke a bong and play the Xbox and do that. And by the way, I'm not a pot smoker, but I'm just making that as a reference. If somebody wants to collect, that's fine. Everybody needs help once in their life, but there should be limits on it. If you have more than 2 kids, I don't believe that you need to collect a bigger check. I don't think being an unwed mother or a deadbeat dad should be an incentive. Having more kids, having more things that you can't take care of. If you can't take care of what you and which comes to my next point. There's streets that need to be cleaned. There's call centers. There's all kinds of things that people who have some sort of handicap and can't work, or people who are collecting welfare not. So why can't they put in, say, 20 hours a week of community service in order to pull this welfare, or to pull this check, or to earn their food stamps? I see no problem with that. If I was in a position where I had to collect welfare or food stamps or anything else, I would gladly want to do something to contribute. I have that work ethic. Maybe everybody doesn't, but that's my opinion. And that would save millions and millions of dollars. Okay, then of course we have these wars, which I could get into that and speak long term, but I'm going to try to keep this video short. But yeah, we definitely need to start pulling our troops back and maybe securing our own borders instead of securing other people's. So we need to stop dumping millions of dollars to other countries and start investing in America. Start rebuilding our infrastructure. Make this the country that I remember as a kid. I want my children to have that same slice of pie. I want them to have that same security and that same freedom that I grew up with, that I knew. I don't want them looking over their shoulders for crazy jihadis or worrying about somebody robbing us. I want what I grew up with. That's all I want. I want my children to do better than me, not worse. And it's a sad fucking state in our country when our children are going to inherit this big steaming fucking pile of shit. We need to fix problems, and we need solutions. We don't need rhetoric. We don't need to fight each other based on our political, ethical, financial, or racial differences. That's divide and conquer. The bankers in our country support all of it and keep us all fighting with each other. Just like the same bankers who created the Federal Reserve have funded both sides of every fucking war in the 20th and the 21st century. So it's win-win for them. The real enemies, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Carnegies, those are the enemies, not the guy who makes $200,000 a year who runs a successful business. Let's get that straight. Okay. Well, I'm going to wrap it up here. I got a lot more things I want to talk about, including, how political correctness can be gone crazy. And the prime example is Europe. So I'll be speaking at length in the future about the European problem. But like I said, that's another video for another time. And I just want to say thank you for anybody who actually sat through this entire thing listening to me jabber on. God bless you, America. Well, whatever invisible man you want to worship, God, Elohim, Yahweh, whatever, If that makes you feel better, bless you. If not, just be strong, be proud, be an individual. Stop being part of a collective and start thinking for yourself. Think about how you personally can make a difference in the world today. And stop waiting for Kanye West's opinion and these other idiots. That's up to you. Only you can make the change. The change has to start here. Free your mind of the bullshit. Research alternative media. Research alternative history. Get more of an information and put together something in your head. Get a big picture and try to figure out what's going on. Turn that cat video off and and look into some things. Okay? That's all I ask you to do. Thanks a lot. Have a good one. Thank you for spending this time with me, and I will be releasing some other videos pretty soon. Have a good one. Peace out, motherfuckers.